In the sun-bathed village of Umuduru, nestled between great mountains and sacred forests, lived a farmer named Okonkwo. He was known far and wide not for his kindness, but for his riches. Okonkwo's barns tower like small castles, packed to the rafters with yams, grains, and coin-filled calabashes. Every planting season, his barns overflow with yams, so large they look like they had eaten too much fufu. But while other farmers gave freely to neighbors and the poor, Okonkwo kept everything for himself. "Why should I share what I worked for?" he often grumbled, counting his yams like treasure. Yet, despite his abundance, Okonkwo shared not a morsel with the hungry. If a widow begged for food, he sent her away with insults. If children came with empty bowls, he cursed their parents for being lazy. He will slam his barn doors and mutter, "Let them eat air." His farmhands whispered about his cruelty, but fear kept their mouths shut. Okonkwo believed that generosity made men weak. Every market day, he flaunted his wealth, arriving on a donkey draped in velvet, gold rings sparkling on his fingers. The villagers, desperate for favors, bowed and cheered. But behind their smiles lay resentment, for they knew what he truly was, a greedy heart in a rich man's robes. One year, the rains forgot to come. The sun glared from the sky like a warrior on a warpath. Streams dried up, and the earth cracked like broken pottery. Farmers looked to Okonkwo for help. "Just a few yam seeds," they asked, but Okonkwo sneered. "No yam leaves his barn without gold." The villagers left sadly. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, but Okonkwo laughed, imagining his fortune growing while others starved. A strange visitor arrived, one scorching afternoon. As Okonkwo oversaw the ceiling of his new barn, an old woman appeared at his gate. She was hunched, her skin dark and wrinkled like burnt bark. Her eyes glowed faintly, as though fire danced behind them. "Please, great farmer," she said, voice raspy yet firm, "spare me a yam. I haven't eaten in days." Okonkwo laughed cruelly. "You stink of the forest. Go back to the spirits that birthed you." She did not flinch. Instead, she drew a strange symbol in the dirt with her staff and whispered, "Your barn shall burst, but not with blessings." That night, lightning danced in the sky, but not a drop of rain fell. The earth trembled. Okonkwo's barn began to rumble. "More yams? Already?" he chuckled. As he slept, Okonkwo dreamed of rotting yams crawling with insects and whispering voices calling his name. When morning came, Okonkwo rushed his fields. His heart dropped. The yam vines looked twisted, their leaves blackened and veins red like they bled. He pulled one yam. It was swollen and heavy, but when he sliced it open, a thick black ooze poured out. The stench was unbearable. He screamed. His workers ran in and gasped. Every yam bore the same curse, oversized, bloated, and rotten inside. Even the soil outside looked gray and sick. Birds no longer sang near his farm. Even the wind avoided his land. Okonkwo tried to plant again. Nothing grew. Seeds vanished in the dead soil. Still, Okonkwo insisted it was a bad season. He ignored the warning signs. But the villagers had started to whisper about the old woman. Had she been human or something else? The nights grew louder. Okonkwo would lie in bed, clutching his gold, as the wind howled like a mourning mother. At times, he heard scratching at his door. No one was there. In his dreams, the old woman danced around a fire, chanting, and the yams whispered his name. His workers began quitting one after another. Crops refused to grow. Goats birthed deformed kids. The village elders visited, urging him to make peace with the spirits. But Okonkwo, proud and blind, laughed him out of his compound. He dug deeper, burning incense, sacrificing chickens, and burying charms in his fields. Nothing worked. The curse spread like wildfire. Desperate, Okonkwo traveled to the sacred forest in Njili, where no one dared enter without a reason. It was said a spirit woman lived there called Nne Miri. It was said she is older than time, guardian of nature's balance. Okonkwo thought she might lift the curse. trees whispered as he approached the mysterious forest. The one you turn away was no ordinary woman. She was Nne Miri, the spirit of the forest. Okonkwo gasped. A forest spirit? He had cursed himself. Deep within the woods, he saw her, young and radiant, eyes like molten gold, the same staff as the old woman. "I warned you," she said, voice like many waters. "Greed poisons the earth." He fell to his knees, begging. She raised her hand and said, "Return what you hoarded. Give back what you stole from the mouths of the needy. Only then shall the land breathe again." Okonkwo returned, but not to repent. He accused the spirit of trickery. Instead of giving, he started selling his cursed yams to travelers at half price. Soon, people who ate them began to fall ill. The village grew angry. Children cried in pain. Elders vomited blood. And still, Okonkwo cared only for coin. As Okonkwo's farm withered away, something unexpected happened in the rest of Umuduru. Where the land was once dry, tiny sprouts pushed up from the ground. Rain clouds gathered over the village, everywhere but Okonkwo's land. The villagers planted what little seeds they had, and to their surprise, everything grew quickly. Yams, maize, and vegetables flourished. Even children laughed again as their parents brought food home. Why is their land blessed and mine cursed? Okonkwo cried, staring at his lifeless fields. He didn't know that Nne Miri had blessed the kind-hearted farmers with fertility and peace. Kindness, it turned out, was better than gold. One morning, Okonkwo walked into the village market with a sack of shriveled yams. "Please, someone trade with me," he begged. But the people turned their backs. The same people he had refused were now full and joyful. He remembered how the old woman had looked at him. Her eyes weren't just glowing, they held wisdom. "I was wrong," he whispered. With his wealth gone, Okonkwo wandered the village, begging for food. No one gave him a morsel. He cried and wept bitterly, and he promised to change for good. That night, Okonkwo returned to his barn. As he sat in silence, a strange sound echoed beneath the floor. Curious, he pulled away some rotten yams and discovered a hidden trapdoor. He had never seen it before. With trembling hands, he opened it. A staircase spiraled downward into a glowing green light. Drawn by mystery, he stepped inside. At the bottom, a garden of magical yams grew, each glowing softly. A carved sign read, "Only the kind may harvest. Only the pure shall eat." A voice filled the space. "Okonkwo, your heart was once greedy. Will you now feed the hungry?" He nodded. "Yes, if I can make things right, I will share everything." The yams in the magical garden trembled. One lifted itself into the air and dropped into Okonkwo's hands. "Start again," the voice said. "But this time, grow more than food. Grow kindness." The next morning, Okonkwo dug up a small patch near his ruined barn. He planted the glowing yam carefully and watered it with tears of regret. Villagers peered from afar, whispering. Had he gone mad? But within days, the soil shimmered and a sprout broke through. Children came closer, watching the little green shoot dance in the wind. "What's that?" a boy asked. "A miracle," Okonkwo replied quietly. Soon, the magical yam grew large and healthy. Okonkwo didn't keep it. Instead, he called the villagers. "Come, take what you need." They hesitated at first, but the children smiled and stepped forward. He gave away every yam that grew. Even his barn began to shine again, no longer heavy with greed, but with gratitude. One night, as moonlight bathed the farm, the old woman returned. But this time, she glowed with silver light. Okonkwo fell to his knees. "I'm sorry, truly." And Nne Miri smiled. "And you have been forgiven. Your land shall flourish again, because your heart now holds what it once lacked, love." She vanished, but left behind a seed of golden yam. That year, Umuduru celebrated the biggest harvest festival in its history. Okonkwo stood at the center, surrounded by laughter, songs, and plates full of food. He wasn't the richest man in gold, but he had everything he needed. And in the center of it all, the golden yam glowed, shining like a star to remind them all. The best harvest comes from the heart. The village told Okonkwo's story for generations. Children learned not to hoard, but to help. A shrine stood at the edge of the forest, where people left gifts and thanks. And on some nights, when the moon is full and yams ripen, a breeze sings to the fields, a soft whisper that sounds like, "Greed is the seed of ruin." Lessons learned. Greed is a curse disguised as prosperity. Those who ignore the suffering of others invite suffering upon themselves.